So it's almost a frigid Arctic day here in Florida. It's 90 degrees. And, but we have run into some delays on parts and materials. So what we've got some things that are still on the way that is holding us up. But let me show you what my thoughts and plans are. So I've got the mounts for a luggage rack, cargo rack or whatever you want to call it, but I don't have the crossbars. And I'm not a real big fan of this stuff anyway because it doesn't support much weight. There is no real brackets underneath here to support anything. So I have ordered some stainless steel button head flange bolts that are going to go in here. And then on the inside, I've got a rubber gasket and I've got a flange nut. And then after I get that in there, I'm going to, of course, I'll put some, probably some, not panel bond, but seam sealer in here to make sure that it's permanent, that it doesn't leak. I don't need to worry about leaks getting into the vehicle. And after that, I have some lizard skin coming in. It's a water-based latex product. I put it on the floor of this vehicle. It doesn't wear like bed liner does. It's not supposed to, but I'm going to be putting it up on the roof of the vehicle. Hopefully it will stick better than the butyl did, but we'll use that as the base, as a heat barrier. And then I also have 6 rolls, small rolls of 1/4 inch foam padding that we're going to put on there as the secondary barrier, and it's got adhesive on the one side. I think on the edges I'll use some of that paint on stick to make sure that it doesn't fall out of the ceiling. And then I can, at least I'll have a barrier up there, a heat barrier when I run the air conditioner in the Florida heat until I get a reasonable headboard to put in here. And I need the headboard trim also. So I need to get something in place that makes the Florida heat bearable. And this, I've already received the 8mm flange nuts to go on there. And like I said, before I put the flange nut on, there's going to be, I've got rubber gaskets on the way also. And then I'll put these on first, and then I'll paint over it with the lizard skin. So that should provide a weather-tight seal for years and years and years, and also a decent heat barrier until I can get a headboard in. So that, and let me show you some of the other stuff that I've done. One of the things that I did do is, this is the passenger door that has the broken glass in it, but it wasn't lined up correctly. I don't know when it happened, but it wasn't shutting. So I got in there, realigned the door. Let me give you a word of advice. These hinges, never, ever, never, never, ever touch these hinges, because you cannot adjust them with the door open. And when you close the door, you know, what are you going to do? Trial and error 8,000 times? I'm sure that they have a bracket or something that they align these with from the factory, but I've only had to remove 2 doors where I had to remove these hinges, and to this day I've never got them to where they're supposed to be. So if you do any door alignment at all on a full-size Jeep, do it in here, because this has got shims and it's got wallowed out holes so that you can make your adjustments here. So that's what I did. I basically pulled this panel off, closed the door, you know, loosened the bolts. There's 3 bolts on each hinge. Loosened those bolts, slammed the door shut to where it had lined with the striker, and then tightened up the outside bolt, the one that's easiest to get to, first, checked my alignment, and then tightened up the other 4 together. So that's all working now, and it works well. And I also got the side armrest in. That looks good. The one that I had to refurbish. I did put the retainer, the thread end retainers in, and I JB welded those in place so that when I move the panel and stuff, it doesn't move. But yeah, that was an exercise in patience, because the the 1/4 inch panel board that I used, and then the 1/4 inch panel board that I used for the foot of the armrest basically exceeded the length of the original lag bolts. So I had to get new lag bolts and put those in also. But that all looks good, and like I said, I'm going to get some lizard skin, and I'm not looking forward to pulling these seats out again, and then I've got to tape everything off, wrap it, etc., so that I don't get any lizard skin on my carpet and my seats and stuff. So I'm going to have to be real particular about how I prepare this before I spray it. But I'm going to spray that all up in here, and we'll get pictures of it, and then once it sets up real good for a day or so, or 2 days, then I'll put the 1/4 inch stick-on foam, and we'll be set. And then we can look at potentially wiring in the dome lights and making this thing work. All right, so we're still waiting on parts. I mean, I ordered some lizard skin and some other things and they got damaged en route. So instead of them giving me a replacement, they just refunded my order, and then I had to go back and order them again. So they should be here any day now. But let me show you what I've got going on. So I've got these. These are 8 mil, which is basically close to a 5/16, and they're flange button head bolts. And then I've got the flange nuts to match those. And we are going to put on the inside of the vehicle against the nut, we're going to put a rubber washer, but I'm also going to put a little bit of sealant on the flange when it goes on. And this is kind of how it's going to go in. Got one of them already in there. So that's what we're looking at. And I don't mind having that little button head sticking up there. And also, if I go back and want to put some kind of luggage rack in that place, I can still go back and do it. I don't know why I'd want to, but that's what we got there. And let me show you the inside. So, and that's the, yeah, there we go. That's the inside, how it looks with the washer on it. So basically, that's what we're going to be doing. And I didn't see it until just now, but there's a whole bunch of little trim holes here. Yeah, you can see them. So I am going to basically, my lizard skin should be here any day now. So I'm going to take a wire brush to all this and just scuff it up so that the lizard skin will adhere. And I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I'm going to pull my seats out, probably put some throw carpets in here to try to protect some of this stuff. It's just going to be rust and paint dust that I can vacuum out, but I'm going to get started on that. All right, so we've made progress. I've got 2 gallons of heat barrier lizard skin. It's a water-based latex coating, and I used it on the floor, not this same one, but I used the sound deadener on the floor of the Cherokee. Now I'm going to use this on the roof to try to keep the heat from penetrating from the roof into the vehicle. So let me show you where we're at for prep. So basically what I've done is I wire brushed the old roof on the inside here, and then the manufacturers of lizard skin say that you can't have bare metal or rust, and so those places that were bare metal or a little bit rusty, I used some paint and I wiped this down like 3 different times with alcohol to clean it and to prep it. So I've basically put plastic on the inside here, and I'm going to shoot this. And also take note of this. These are right up there. Those are the holes for the right there, pointing with my foot. Those are the holes where the roof rack would mount. So I've used 8mm flange button head screws and bolts, or nuts and bolts, to cover those holes up. I also put a gasket and some sealer on each one. And if the need be, if I decide to put a roof rack on there, I can come back, take those out and do it later. But this will keep it from leaking into the vehicle until I decide what I want to do. And so let's finish up the taping here, get that lizard skin prepped and ready to go, and then we'll start shooting it. I might film a little bit of the shooting. It's going to be boring, but it's smoking hot. It's 100 degrees in here, so hopefully the air conditioner will bring it down about 90. So I'm going to try to get this coated before I pass out from heat stroke. All right, so after reading the instructions, I actually went online and got the installation instructions, prep instructions, etc., etc. And I read through all the safety data, and everything from California says that if in California you can't taste, touch, look at, or even be around anything. And one of the specific California call-outs was carbon black, which is in this product, and I can imagine that it's really, really bad, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the Starship Enterprise runs off a antimatter reactor, which is basically the same thing as carbon black. So yeah, this stuff is pretty scary, but when I looked at all the install videos, the majority of people didn't suit up, but I did. Because of the environment that I'm in, I did use my respirator, because I am basically in a plastic tunnel inside here spraying this, so there's no fresh air coming in. So I am using my filtered mask. But other than that, let's take a look at it. I got 1 gallon put on. So I've got 1 gallon sprayed in, and actually it covers pretty nicely. I noticed that most of the people on YouTube only use like half of what is recommended, and I'm always a proponent saying no, you need to use at least what's recommended or double that. Especially on bed liner, you want to double it because you need it thick enough. But it covers pretty well. It's pretty easy to use. And I am going to put another ½ gallon or a gallon, depending on how I feel and if I can tolerate it or not. Because, man, I spent 3 hours in the shop prepping this and getting it sprayed. And even with the air conditioner on, it was 100 degrees in the shop the whole time. And I was probably about moments away from heat stroke. So I'm going to hit this earlier in the morning today, before it gets to hellacious temperatures. And so I'm going to go ahead and mix up that other gallon and get started. The final step of this video is going to be putting this 1/4-inch vinyl. It's got the adhesive on it. I'm going to cut it down and put it into the attach it to the ceiling of the Cherokee. Now, I was debating on whether trying to keep it all in one piece. I don't think I will because it's hard to deal with. And then also, I'm considering using the self-adhesive and sticking that to the top. And then if it starts to pull away because of heat and time, then if that's the case, I can come back later and paste it to the ceiling with this contact cement. So had pretty good luck with this on the floor, but then gravity's not working against the floor in that case. So if I need to, I can always go to this if it starts to peel away from the ceiling. All right, so I'm going to get busy on that. I'm going to work on it, cut it, and then I'll show you the end product. Done, 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 done. Okay, this is what we got. I think it looks pretty good. Got the 1/4-inch foam placed everywhere. It's basically the same color as the lizard skin, very close. And hopefully you guys can see that in the camera. You know, you can see the seams, and I'm going to have to roll it some more to make sure it sticks. If it doesn't stick, then I'll put some of that contact cement on there. But basically, everything except for the ribs have that 1/4-inch foam. And the ribs I'm not really concerned about because actually all the heat insulation is in the lizard skin, and then the foam is more for sound deadening and to add a little bit more to it. So I'm happy with that. Let's look at the back. Same. Looks good, lasts a long time. If it stays stuck to the ceiling, then I'll be happy. And then, like I said, I'll keep an eye out for all the headliner trim and potentially a headliner to put in place. But I'm not in a hurry. I've got the insulation that I need, so I can strap the air conditioning into this thing, get it cranking, and then it'll be a living, drivable vehicle, even without the headliner. So what are we going to do next? Next. It's getting really close, so it's going to be the air conditioning unit, or maybe we'll strip the rust off of those front fenders and get them prepped for paint. Depending how I feel and my resources, etc., we'll get that going. I still need a passenger side window for the door, and I do have the window and the crank mechanism and everything for the rear hatch. The problem is that I'm not sure if I have all the trim. I had the trim at one time, but I'm not sure where it's at now, so I'm going to have to locate it. But that's it for this video. We are done. And stay tuned for the next one coming up.